Let's talk now to Mike Nichols, economist and founder of Chesterton's estate agency based in Gibraltar. Yesterday we found out from David Lammy that he'd gone over to Gibraltar to sort of do a deal which they're calling a post-Brexit deal, finally, to be done with Spain. So the border control between Gibraltar and Spain will now be operated by Spain. I think there might still be a few niceties to be completed, but let's find out what Mr. Nichols thinks of it. Mike, very good morning to you.
Morning.
So, depending on who you talk to, this is either a good idea because people will be able to go backwards and forwards across the border a little bit easier than they could before, or it's the sort of first step in a process which could lead to Gibraltar being given back to Spain in some way.
For us in Gibraltar, it's a really good idea. We have a hard border with Spain because we're UK and they're in Schengen, and we have 28,000 jobs in Gibraltar, 15,000 of which are fulfilled by people living in Spain. So they have to cross the border. And there's an existential threat to our business model, to our economy, if proper Schengen controls are enforced at that border. And by concession, they're not today, but they could be. So what the deal has done, albeit it's only a page-and-a-half agreement, there's no detail, is to move that border to the airport. So we're sort of 35,000 residents are emancipated. We can go and live the dream and wander across into Europe and back again. These Spanish based workers, they're not all Spanish, but those who live in Spain, they can come into Gibraltar to fulfill all the jobs. We need them, our economy needs them, and tourists can go to and fro. So we think it's quite clever that the border moves to the airport, so it inconveniences some who arrive by air and want to stay in Gib, but it's brilliant for the many who are living here. So, you know, the unions want it both sides of the border, business wants it both sides of the border, and I now think I live in a better place. So on the ground, we think this is pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, I guess in previous times, Spain could have eased their restrictions if they'd wanted to before this, but, you know, this has now been done with David Lammy, perhaps because they think that this is a more friendly government to them.
Well, I think because we've got a left-leaning government in Spain, that's the only reason we've got this deal. And I don't see that the right-wing government in Spain would have allowed this. They retain a sovereignty claim. The deal all says, you know, everyone's claim to sovereignty remains as it was. Spain is still sort of a pretty hostile in its blood in terms of Gib, so that won't go away. There will be some.
And they would still like to have ownership of Gibraltar, wouldn't they?
Yes, I think so, because NATO needs us here. The Americans want us here. We have a deep naval base here. We have a military defence base here at the mouth of the Mediterranean. You know, strategically, we're really well located. So I think strategically we're best belong to the UK. We want to belong to the UK. I was at an event last night singing the national anthem, the King Charles's birthday. In many respects, we're more patriotic and British and
sure you are.
Loyal to the crown than you guys in the UK, which is the country I left 20 years ago. And that will remain. We're vehemently British, but we'd like this deal. It allows us to flourish. It's really quite optimistic for us here. Right.
And I mean, my point earlier, though, was that the Spanish would still quite like to get their hands on Gibraltar at some point, wouldn't they? And so you're not worried that this makes it sort of slightly more easy for them, possibly as a first step?
Well, I think that's the underlying concern, that, give an inch, take a mile. We are told, no one's seen the detail. All that's been published is a page-and-a-half press statement. No one's seen anything more. There's probably going to be a 1,000-page treaty. So no one's seen it, but everyone has said that, and even the Spanish have admitted that there's no claim to sovereignty through this deal. So the devil's always in the detail, to be sure. Give an inch, take a mile. That saying is true. We'll be very, very sure that if that turns out to be the case, that there is no giving up of any sovereignty of any nature, then this is a deal which is very welcomed by us, true local Gibraltarians, plus many expats like me who've been here many years, to keep, we're living a very good British life in the Mediterranean in an economy which will now flourish even more. So we think we've done well if it turns out as we're told. We don't know that yet.
Well, I mean, I would be very careful with anything that you get told by this particular government, because it's not a question of whether they're left wing or right wing. They just seem to be have a slightly strange relationship with the truth.
That's true, but
to be honest,
I think we're all here with the chief minister we got here is very capable, very able, and I think we trust him to do the right thing by Gibraltar. We for 300 years, these guys here, it's in their blood to look after their future, to look after the Rock of Gibraltar. And I'd be surprised if that wasn't the case. But
so do they see that Gibraltar is now effectively in Schengen then?
Well, we're I don't know what you'd call it, but perhaps we're called an associate member of Schengen. But I know, as a resident of Gibraltar, I now don't have to have my passport stamped when I go across the border. I won't have to queue. This won't happen for months and months and months. We've got a text that, this is 6-9 months away.
Yeah.
But in 6-9 months, I'll be able to wander in and out of Spain. I'll be able to just drive to Portugal. I'll be able to do what I want. And that, I won't have any of this 90 and 180-day shenanigans. But I'll be living in the British territory. I'll be paying Gibraltar tax, which is less than your tax over there. It'll be sunny. It sounds quite idyllic to me, subject to all the caveats that I've said.
Yeah, absolutely. Good to talk to you. Thanks very much indeed. Mike Nichols, economist and founder of Chesterton's estate agency, based in Gibraltar. So the people of Gibraltar are happy to have the deal done, but as he says, as long as it says what it's meant to say. And with David Lammy, you can never quite trust what it's meant to say, can you? Because he's the guy that gave away the Chagos Islands.